I was born in East LA, man. I was born in East LA.
Oh yeah, you're born in East LA. Well, let's see your green card, huh?
Green card?
I'm from East LA. Alright guys, here we have it. This video is on the 2011 MacBook Pro. This MacBook Pro is rebooting. It does not want to start. Basically, as you can see, you got the Apple logo and you got the little bar where it's just climbing up, and it looks like it's going to start, but eventually it goes blank, and then it starts all over where it starts to reboot itself. So once again, 2011 MacBook Pro. I'm going to show you what the problem is, what to replace. Easy, 1, 2, 3. It's under $30. Anybody can do it. So this is where it goes blank. And then you get this message, your computer, I'm going to have a picture of it right here, an image. Your computer restarted because of a problem. Press a key or wait a few seconds to continue. So it never continues, it never starts. And here we go. So we're going to go ahead and turn this bad boy off first. Want to make sure all the power is off. So we're going to go ahead and turn off the MacBook Pro. We're going to flip it over. And we're going to start removing the screws. You have 4 screws up front that basically have to be removed, and then you also have 4 screws in the rear part of it at the bottom, and those are much longer screws, so there you'll notice the difference. And then you have 2 on the sides right there in the middle. This is a screw set that I've already had for a while on removing these screws, but the part that I'm going to replace is this cable right here, and as you can see, there's a couple of screwdrivers that came with it. There's a couple of screwdrivers, a little wedge, and a little guitar pick also. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to go ahead and take advantage and use the screwdrivers that came with this. So let's go ahead and remove the screws for the bottom cover. And of course we got it here in Speedy Gonzalez speed. So here we go. Make sure you keep all of the screws together. At least the 4 in the rear, you'll notice that they all pretty much look the same. So keep them in a group. And then you want to keep the 4 in the front in a group, and the 2 flanking on the side in a group. So once you remove all the screws, we're going to pop this bad boy off. And I'm using this little wedge in the rear part of the computer where I could just slide it in between and just pry it open. As you can see, we have all the internal components of the Mac right here, which I've already upgraded my hard drive, but that could be another video. But as you can see, we're going to go ahead and remove the hard drive first, and that's right here in the front, right next to the battery is where you see it. So we're going to take off these 6 screws it has that's bolting it down, and that cable back there is actually the one that we're going to replace, the part that I ordered. So I'm going to have a little link where you could order that cable as well. But these are the screws we're going to remove, so let's get to it and get them all off using the screwdriver. So there's 2 screwdrivers, and you'll notice the difference. Just make sure you have the right screwdrivers for the type of screw that you're removing. You don't want to strip any of the screws, especially since they're so tiny and they're specifically for each certain component holding down whatever it is you're removing. So once we take off the screws here on the hard drive, I'm going to go ahead and take off the 2 screws at the back. Here you see this little bar. It's a little black bar that goes on the rear of it, and that kind of holds everything down as well. So I got that, set it aside, and I'm going to go ahead and use this little wedge again and just remove the hard drive slowly. And as you can see, the front part of it here to my left, that's actually where we're going to disconnect it. So we're going to go ahead and pull that whole black connector evenly, hold it firmly and evenly. In this case, of course, the cable is already bad, but just in case the problem was not the cable, I always try to make sure I take everything off carefully, just in case I need to reuse that part. And of course, you don't want to damage your hard drive as well. So this is the cable we're going to remove right here. So what we're going to do next is there's still a couple of things we have to remove. So as you can see, it goes up there, and there's 2 screws back there. This is the new part. What I'm doing right here is just making sure that the new part is identical to the old one, and everything looks the same, and basically it looks like it's going to just fall right in there and there shouldn't be any problems. So we'll make sure the most important thing is the connectors. Everything looks the same as far as the connector for the hard drive, and then the one that goes to the motherboard. So I'm just comparing it. Everything looks good. You got the cables, the little bar in the front here that we have to remove. So far all that looks good, and that's of course where we plug that into the motherboard. So that's the part that goes right at the top, curves and goes over to the motherboard right there. So that's where it plugs in, and basically it's just applying pressure to it. So we'll set that aside for now, and we're going to go ahead and take this off right here, which are the little bracket up front. A couple of screws there. Make sure you use the right screwdriver again. Once you get those off, then this cable right here should start coming off, and of course it's going to have some adhesive to it stuck to the case. So in this case, of course, we're going to remove it slowly, and I'm going to use that wedge again to kind of just right here I'm just checking that part of the connector, because the new cable actually had that part for some reason was not making contact, so I had to check it and make sure everything was okay, which it did turn out being okay. But I'm going to go ahead and use this wedge to remove the cable with all the adhesive. So just slowly pry on it and slide the wedge in there, and you'll see it coming off. So those rear screws back there, we removed them as well, and those two screws, and then now I'm going to go ahead and pop the connection there with the little wedge. So that popped right out, as you can see, and that's it. So the old cable, we're going to set it aside. Now we're going to go ahead and get the new one on there. So we'll start off with that same area. That's the area I was talking about where it wasn't making a proper connection. The new cable actually came with those two. There's a little tab there that was not connected, so I popped it back in, and so far it seems good. So we'll just try it out at the end. Otherwise, we'll send it back. But we'll go ahead and install this back in the same order as far as the cable back. But I'm going to start off here with the little bar. Okay, let's get those screws back in there. And now what I'm going to do is, it's that part where the adhesive is actually stuck to the case. As you can see, it's actually a little tape. It has the backing here, so I'm going to go ahead and peel that off slowly. You don't want to damage anything. And then I'm going to go ahead and just lay it there, let it fall in place, at the same time applying pressure. And then here at the other end is where the screws mount, so you just want to make sure that's aligned. And we're going to go ahead and install those screws. And now, since the hard drive is going to go right on top of this, right underneath those screws, there needs to be kind of like an L shape, a kink, just so the hard drive could fall in place. So what you can use there, right where my finger was touching, is the guitar pick. Just kind of apply pressure and get that little 90-degree angle right there. So we're tying up these screws, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. In this case, I'm not using the guitar pick. I'm just basically rubbing my finger along, making sure there's pressure, and then with my nail I apply pressure at that corner just to kind of get that 90-degree. So once that's in there, you got the screws on there tight, and you don't want to over tighten them, so you just want to get them snug enough. So now we're going to go ahead and hook this up right here. So this part right here is where it should just fall in place, and what's happening here is that it seems like my cable is short. It's not falling in place. It's not landing where it should, which I'm going to have to pull on it a little bit. You don't want to pull on it too hard. You don't want to damage anything, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull on it. Since it's already curved, it kind of should fall in place, and it's not. And since it's not an OEM part, I guess it's making it difficult. So now, as you can see, there's a little tent. It's pitching up. It's kinked right there just because it's not landing in place, and I had to like kind of pull on it and make it reach over and fall in place. So I'm going to give it a shot. Hopefully that should work and it shouldn't have a problem, but if it does, then of course I'm going to return this and get my money back. But let's go ahead and plug in the hard drive. Get that back in there, all in place the way it should be. I want to be careful once again, not damage anything, and pop that back in place. Then we'll get the screws and the little bar back in there. So we got 6 screws on the drive and then 2 at the bar in the rear there next to the cable. So okay, make sure you use the right screwdrivers. Got all that nice and snug. So basically that's it. Everything's back in place the way it should be. So now at this point we just want to make sure everything looks good, and then we're going to go ahead and pop that cover, the bottom cover, back on there. So just make sure everything's aligned with the holes, and then we're going to grab the proper screws. As you recall, the rear screws are longer, and I set them aside in groups, and then of course you have the 2-sided screws and get everything back in place there. So once we get all the screws back in there, we're going to go ahead and that's just the old cable. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside, make sure in case the other cable doesn't turn out being the proper thing to fix this or not needed. So I'm going to leave it aside, but we're going to go ahead and flip the Mac now. And let's get this MacBook Pro fired up. So we'll hit the start button, and we're going to wait and see what we see. See if this is finally going to work. So there we go. We got the Apple logo. Then we have the little bar. And I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Speedy Gonzalez style. And what we should have is basically my login screen coming up. And guess what? There it is. All I have to do is log in, punch in my password. Of course, I'm getting the message when the computer actually shut down, where the malfunction happened, and that's already old news. So I went ahead and logged in. There it goes. My password worked. The cable never went bad. It always kept working. So thanks for watching.